Some interesting things happened for me over the last few months, and most obviously over the last 4 weeks. I recognize that English is my second language. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our welcome guest. What does that mean? Because I'm born here, and the first language I heard, I'm assuming the obvious, that it was English, even though my parents spoke other languages because they were from Europe. But I'm assuming that they spoke English to me first because it is my first language. So I was trying to figure out how to describe something to you. In my head, in my thoughts, in me, my roseness, gets an idea, gets a vision, gets a joke, right? Because I amuse myself, as I was sharing with Liz before. And then I have to translate that and share that in English, because that's the language that is most common amongst, or is common amongst all of us, correct? Who here speaks English? Who here is English as a second language? Okay. Who thinks that English is their second language even though they think English is their first language? Now that's obvious to me because I get that. But is it obvious to you? So I get an idea, I get a vision, I get a thought. By the time I'm sharing it with Marlene, I got another thought, another vision, and I want to share it with Catherine. But I'm thinking I'm sharing it with Marlene, and it's obvious what I'm telling you, isn't it?
Sure.
I wrote about it in my book. I even quoted Steve Martin. A day without sunshine is like, night. Now I get that. Does everybody else get that? Right? And then there's another quote. It says, the right thing isn't always real obvious. Sometimes the right thing for one person is the wrong thing for another person. Good luck figuring that one out. That's by Stephanie Meyer. She's an American author. So the idea is, over the last 4 weeks when I was working and planning the gala and doing my HPL with Toastmasters and my committee, Alana and Farham, and then I had all these volunteers helping me, and like Marlene, and all these people working with me, and my board members. And then I want to present something to my guests at the gala. And I get an idea, I pick something, and I want to share that Marlene's got to create what's in my head. So I share it with her in English. And she takes that, she has to translate that from English, now get this, into her Marlene-ness that's going on in her head. So now imagine, you were saying, Al, that English is your second language. So I share something with Al about how this is orange and this is yellow and that's green, and I do it really fast and I'm going crazy and I have all these visions. Al takes that English. He translates it to Farsi. Is that your first language? Then he has to translate it to his Al-ness. And then what happens? He has to translate that back to me in English to tell me he gets it. Well, isn't it obvious, Al, that you would get it? But it isn't obvious, is it? That's what I got, the big picture out of my HPL. I'm not always obvious. I kind of knew that. So the cool thing was that I really got present to how to share. I always use this. I'm a big numbers person, although I'm not great in math, but I love numbers. 2 plus 2 equals 4, right? But sometimes I look at 2 plus 2 and I see 5, or I see 3. But that's obvious to me, and that might not be obvious to you. So the point that I'm making is, even though you're listening to me in English, and I have my speech here that I'm creating right now, am I getting the vision from here to here, well, really from here, 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 to all of you, and how you're translating it to your ness? So my roseness is sharing with all of your nesses that not everything is obvious, and I understand that. So the big picture is, my last quote to share that I wrote in 2014, trust that the obvious is there. It might just be that there are 2 obviouses Madam Toastmaster.